What's up, everybody? Welcome to Too Real with
Hello, hello,
Michael
hello.
and Jillian. It's Mike and Jillian. You never use my government name on this.
Is it Mike and Jillian? Is it Mike and Jill?
Mike and Jillian, I think, is
Fun
the actual
fact,
title.
I actually call him Miguel more than anything.
Yes. So
And
it's very weird when you say Mike.
yeah,
I'm like, who are you
and
talking to?
yesterday I think I was like, do you call me Jill or Jillian more? You call me Jill more.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't mind either. This is like a little pet peeve of mine. It's so ridiculous, but I'll let
Are
it.
you going to say this live? I'm finding
I'm
this
gonna,
out right now live. All
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
cool.
It's not against you. When people meet me, I
Oh.
introduce myself as Jillian Rosado. And as they get to know me, like they'll just start calling me Jill because like they're in my circle, they call me
Mm-hmm.
Jill. Um, but when people like when I say, I'm Jillian Rosado, nice to meet you, da da da, and they immediately call me Jill, I'm like, whoa, you don't know me like that. It's so ridiculous. I don't know why. I'm like,
Really?
I did not give you permission to call me Jill,
Mm.
but whatever.
It's Jillian
It's,
until you're in the inner circle.
yeah.
Then it's
And
Jill.
like that could take 20 minutes to get there because I'm like, I just word vomit my life at all times. Sometimes Mike's like, why do you have to tell everyone all
I
that?
know.
I'm like, I don't know. I just can't help myself. I'm just a very open person
Right.
and it shoots me in the foot sometimes, which we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like something ridiculous about me that I'm just like, you don't even know me.
Yeah.
You don't know how I like my cereal.
Right.
Fun fact, I don't eat cereal. But yeah,
Yeah,
that
you
was
you have to
odd.
be honest with everything you say, but you don't have to honestly say everything. You and our youngest Hunter just
And
say
that's where he gets it from.
everything. Just shut up. Nobody asked you. It's unnecessary information.
I was on the phone with our kids director last night. I was like, "Yeah, I'm still in my gym clothes since this morning. I haven't washed my face. Nothing." It was like 7:30, honey. And she's like,
Unnecessary.
"Yeah." And she's like, "Oh." And Mike's looking at me like, "Why are
W-
you telling her that?" I'm
Unnecessary.
like, "I don't
She
know. I
can't
just,
smell you. She can't see you. Completely unnecessary.
I
You're
just, I
ridiculous.
have a case of word vomit at all times in my life. Hence this podcast and every tangent that comes out of it.
That's right. Speaking of tangents, so you took us way off the
Yeah,
topic
sorry.
today. We on the drive in, we were just kind of processing what we wanted to talk about today, and I think it's time. We try our best to not talk a lot about church in this podcast because we realize that people who listen, some of them aren't in that church life.
They don't care,
They don't care.
and that's cool.
So, but the disclaimer that I want to throw out there is like I do want to talk today about the what I would call like the dark side of ministry.
But like with this, which we discussed, we're talking about the dark side of ministry, but this can be placed in any arena.
Right, you're a
If
supervisor.
you're a leader, you're a boss, in your family,
Yeah,
yourself, like with your
right,
friends. It's a lot just about your personal convictions in life, like like how you want to be,
hmm
and how you can protect that. So this could extend out, but yeah, I'm always super cautious. Like, no, I want this to be accessible for everyone.
yeah, yeah,
So don't let that be like, oh, this one's not for me. This is for everyone.
right. But I think it'd be this the podcast is called Too Real, and this is our life, right?
Yes.
This is where we live. This is where we live. This is what we do. So we're letting you also into our lives and just to gain some understanding of what it looks like and feels like to be in this position of ours. So you right now you've been in ministry. So you left the mortgage industry in 2016.
I think it was 2016 or 2017. I
Yeah,
can't remember. Somewhere around there.
somewhere along those
So
lines.
anywhere from 6 to 7 years ago.
Right,
Let's look at it like that.
6 to 7 years ago. So let's just say for kicks and giggles, like you've been in this for 7 years, right? So the paradigm is we lead people, we care for people, we're responsible for people. We have a lot of responsibility, um, but also we have some authority, but we're still under authority, right? Under
Mm-hmm.
authority of our district, our board, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we deal with people and different from the corporate world. But I've heard that the corporate world's shifting, like, you know, where we can't just be like, hey, get on the bus or get ran over by the bus,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can't do
I
that.
think it depends on the industry you're in.
Yeah. but I heard a lot, even like some white collar people. They're just saying like the office place is getting a little softer. You know, like you're not like, yo, I need this by 12.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, hey, how are you? Like it's getting a little nicer, which I know. Cue the eye roll from Joe, because you came from the mortgage industry.
Yes.
And how did y'all talk to each other?
I need that now.
Right.
With a lot of 4-letter words thrown in.
Right. But now being in ministry, so I wanted to ask you, like, what now 7 years looking back, I wanted you and I just kind of go back and forth. What have we learned along the way? I've been in ministry for now, 23 years. 23,
So you
maybe
have like
going
a
on
little
24.
head start on
A little
me.
bit.
A little one.
But I was in the beginning more of the iron fist. This is
Mm-hmm.
how we're going to do it. But when planting or starting Fervent Church in 2012, that started the progression to me being a little more tender, surprisingly tender, as some people would say. So what have you, we'll go point for point here. What have you learned along the way, 7 years in ministry? And we'll kind of dissect it together. What could you help people understand?
I'm pulling up my points because I'm the type of person, I'll just say a bunch of things and I completely forget what I said. So I'm like, Mike, text this to me. This is like the biggest lesson I've learned, and not just in ministry, in life in general, is it's not about being the bigger person. It's about staying true to your character. So one of my complaints in life is I say at least once a week, I am so sick of being the bigger person. Why can't I just be the person that runs my mouth, that says whatever I think, that doesn't care for anyone's feelings around me? I can just pop off, do whatever I want, say whatever. When do I not have to be the bigger person?
When can you clap back?
Yeah, when can I? Yeah. And I've come to realize over the last few years, like, it's not who I am. It's me just talking out my neck is not my character.
Yeah.
And my integrity is very valuable to me. And I've also come to realize, like, you know, in your head, you have this, I'm going to tell them this and I'm going to tell them that. And they did this and I need to, and like in your head, it sounds great. But I would venture to guess, and in my experiences with people that do not pick that bigger person role, the outcome of popping off is never what they expect.
Yeah.
They never feel good about it after the fact. It never solves the problems. It actually makes things worse.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like tangibly worse, their opinion of you is worse. And it just diminishes your character. So for me,
and sometimes it validates what they're saying about you.
Yeah.
When you pop off, right? Like,
yes. Yeah. And it's just like, it's never worth it. So oh my goodness, how many times have I in life wanted to be like, I'm going to tell him everything about himself so that he can feel the effects of that and he can see and da-da-da-da. But then taking that beat and being like, it's not going to solve the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I see it and even if I tell them, they're not going to see it. They don't want to see it. They don't care to see it. They are stuck in what their thought and preference and opinion is, and it's not worth it. It's not worth me damaging my character by taking an emotional moment and running wild with it. It's not worth it.
Right.
It's not worth it. So sometimes being the bigger person and staying true to your character, like, it's worth it.
We're not, unfortunately, in leadership, you're not, I'm going to say this strongly. Some people are going to argue at this point, but whatever. I won't retaliate because I'm going to be the bigger person. We're not allowed to react to situations.
No.
We have to
respond.
Intellectually respond. We're not allowed to react. I can't just give you my knee-jerk reaction. And so, yes, you have to be the bigger person. I used to grow up with a leadership quote of saying, if you have to always be the bigger person, stop surrounding yourself with small people.
Yes, and that's something that's been huge for me these last couple years, is recognizing, like, if I'm constantly having to be the bigger person, I need a new room. Yeah. And I've been exiting the room of smallness, and I've been stepping into the room of bigness and surrounding myself with people like that. And it's not, and here's the thing that you might say, oh, well, you're putting yourself around bigger people, but when's anyone ever going to talk about what's really happening? Like, they could interpret being the bigger person by avoiding having conversations. No, we're actually having mature conversations, thoughtful conversations, responses, not reactions.
Mm-hmm.
I can come to them and there's not insecurity in the room. I can come to, I'm thinking, I'm coming to my friend Kim and I say, hey, Kim, lately I've been feeling like this.
Yeah.
And you had said this and it made me feel like that. I just want some clarity here because I know you love me and I know that we both value our friendship. So like what's really going on here? And we can have a mature conversation about it, but it requires maturity and humility to do that.
Right.
So I am stepping into bigger rooms where it requires my humility and my maturity, and the people in the room with me have also agreed to that.
Yes.
And it's been a game changer.
Yeah.
But when you step out of those smaller rooms, people get feelings.
Right.
And people want to start saying stuff and they want to bait you to respond. But since I'm already in the bigger room, that's not even a thought for me.
Right. Right. But unfortunately, in the line of work we're in,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to be in proximity with small people.
Yes.
So it's our opportunity to we'll attempt to say, can you think bigger? Can you live bigger? And sometimes we can win them,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes we can't. Right.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to subscribe to our values or beliefs, but like, the Bible says that we don't repay evil with evil.
Mm-hmm.
If in logical terms, like if you fight fire with fire, everyone just ends up getting burned.
Yes.
Right. And it's rare, maybe this happens, but I've yet to experience a time when you tell somebody off and they're like, you're right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've yet to experience
Yeah.
that,
Anyone can subscribe to that. So regardless of where you stand in faith, I think everyone can subscribe to two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah. And then they're smart aleck where the youngest goes, yeah, but three rights make a left. I'm like, you dork.
Yeah, and then we argued that and he goes, yeah, but you're on the wrong block.
yeah. He's an idiot. We love him, but he's an idiot. So, but you mentioned this point for a reason. There have been
Mm-hmm.
moments where people have said things,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't retaliate,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mhm.
give me some examples of things that you've experienced that you learned this lesson without calling out people's names, because we're not fighting fire with fire. But I want people to understand the level of how much you've learned this lesson, that it's not about.
I mean, people say stuff about you.
Retaliation.
People say stuff about me. People question our decision making. I can't even pick one specific example in this moment because there's a plethora. But at the end of the day, like I have the confidence in knowing. Here's the thing. I go to bed at night and I can rest my head very well because I know that I work hard. I know that I sacrifice a lot for what I do. I left a very lucrative job to do what I do.
Yeah.
So I don't do this for the money at all. It's comical. But I know that I care about people. I know that this is the purpose of my life, to work and serve people. And sometimes it's just not going to be popular, but it's okay when I know it's coming out of the goodness of my heart, when I know it's coming out of love, when I know it's coming out of honesty, when I know it's coming out of humility, when I know it's coming out of maturity, all the T's, like I rest my head well at night. So if I were doing things that kept me up at night, that had me questioning myself, then I would take a beat and be like, yo, am I doing the right thing here? But the peace that I have, that lets me know I'm good. Yeah. I'm not doing anything for my advantage. If I was, I would not be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but the point you made was, you said it's not about being the bigger person. It's about staying true to yourself. Explain that part about being more true to yourself.
Because I think it's really, because people say, I'm sick of being the bigger person. It's not that you're sick of being the bigger person. Like, it's not being the bigger person. It's I'm staying true to who I am. And people will use the word my truth. And it drives me freaking crazy.
Yes.
Because there is
Samesies.
your truth, but there is the truth.
Yeah.
And if you're a person of integrity, you understand the difference between the two.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to sacrifice your ego and your truth to recognize the truth.
Yes.
And so for me, it's not about not popping off to feel good about myself. Like, look at me, I'm the bigger person. It's me not popping off because that's not who I am. I'm staying true to who I am.
Yes.
regardless of my ego, because my ego would want me to pop off to make me feel better about myself. I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching online. Like, yeah, it sounds great to be able to be like, no, well, you're an idiot and you're
Mm-hmm.
this and you're that. And
Mm-hmm.
but that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So I think I want to replace the being the bigger person with staying true to yourself. But it's hard to do so because some people would think, well, I am being true to myself. And them being true to themselves is to their advantage. So am I making
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I kind of I wanted to break down that being the bigger person, but there's like this towing the line of like someone be like, well, I am being myself. Well, actually you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, because you're being a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Maybe they are. Maybe that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah, we're not.
I've
Yeah.
just talked myself in a circle. So
I think it's about when people say things, and unfortunately, like we've experienced moments where people have said some really harmful,
yes.
just hurtful, harmful things,
Mm-hmm.
things that aren't true.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the hardest things too is like
You want to defend yourself, but if you come off too defensive, then people are like, why are you so defensive?
right, and like you just can't. So more often than not, we stay quiet
Yeah.
because when you talk about being true to yourself, integrity, those kind of things, I have to ask myself the question in a real world, not based on what you said, their truth.
Mm-hmm.
In a real world, am I respected by the people who really know me
Yes.
and are close to me?
And that's the kicker. Like anytime someone says something that's like so ridiculous, the people that know us are like, yeah, right, whatever.
Right.
Like they don't even pay it any mind because they're just like, that's ridiculous. I know them.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no way.
Yeah. And a part of me hurts when, okay, yeah, you say something that's harmful, hurtful, not accurate. I get mad when, okay, you can make the decision to leave, but then through the gossip train, you tell other people that information, and they used to get real offended. Like then you're luring people away, and they leave. But I've come to the realization that it does hurt, it is harmful. However, if those people are leaving based on this person's third party assessment of me, then they didn't know me either,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And
that's what I say. I'm like, it sucks, it hurts, but let them go. I can't force you to stay somewhere where you're already questioning me.
right,
And I can't force you to see the real me when you've already decided what you think that is.
right, yeah. A lot of times people are
What are
just
you going to do? In the
they're-
words of my dad,
what
what are you
gonna
going to do?
People are waiting to validate their decision to leave.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and you said something really good that I hold on to, and I don't know if you know this. You said that if people are treating our church as a layover, we can't beg them to stay. We can't empower anyone who's treating our church as a layover. Like if you want to become a part of this family, become a part of this organization, you can't treat it like a layover. You remember saying that?
No.
No.
I say a lot of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Clearly, we've established that.
But the other thing that I've recognized too is that if I have to convince you to stay, then you've already left in your heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, it's like a relationship. Please stay, please stay. Like if you have to beg someone to stay in a relationship with you, that's like a huge red flag.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so we have to be the bigger person. But more than being a bigger person, you have to stay true to yourself. Stay grounded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when sometimes when people do say things, 80% of it could be complete crap. But if you're staying true to yourself, that 20% of it, you could go, you're right. I did mess up in that little area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to own that. I'm going to make that better. I'm going to grow as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because we do take to heart things that people say, and we're like,
yeah,
could I see that? Like,
yeah.
where's my responsibility in that and stuff? And we'll ask our staff or our close friends, you know, hey, someone said this, like, do I have a blind spot there?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I think people will say things and be like, they're so oblivious. Like, no, we do consider it, and we do have trusted friends and family in our lives that will be like, hey, do you see that in me?
Yeah.
And like, not batting an eye when they're like, yeah, I could see like that could, yeah, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you do this sometimes. okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna work on that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's a quote in the book that I'm writing that says that the true display of confidence isn't when you're doing well, is when you have to be corrected. That's the truest display of confidence.
yeah.
Um, so, I think as we continue to grow in our leadership, we just stay true to ourselves, and that's how we continue to grow.
Yeah.
So it's a great lesson that you learned. I
Thanks.
think the one lesson that I've learned in ministry, and this is hard, and it's attention. It's not a problem to solve, it's attention to manage, but people want you close enough to relate, but far ahead enough to motivate, which means like they don't want you to be perfect, right? They want you to be approachable, accessible, like we hear it all the time. Oh man, you guys are so real. I love it. But then there's this line, there's this tipping point
Yeah.
where it's just like, oh, you're being too real, and now you're messy. People don't want you to be messy.
Or you're too real and I don't agree with what you're being too real about, so I'm going to push that away.
Right, right.
Rather than like people have different points of view on things sometimes, and that's okay.
Right. Or not even points of view, but also levels of comfort.
Yes.
Right? So like and so it's weird because again, people want you close enough to relate. But the problem is when you have 200 people in the room, you have 200 different levels of comfort in the room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you could have a bunch of people cheering you on. Oh man, thank you for being vulnerable and real.
Yeah.
And then if you bypass certain level of individuals' comfort, and it gets to discomfort, then what they start doing is that they start using your vulnerability against you.
Yeah.
Right?
I think of the time, thinking of different levels of comfort. You said pissed in a sermon. And this one person was really pissed that you said pissed.
Right.
Came up to me about how pissed they were about you saying pissed.
Right.
And it's like,
and the funny thing is, that's a part of that's just who we are culturally. I don't think it's a vulgar term. I think it's just it's the same thing as saying you're angry at something, right?
But that one word derailed everything that you had done in that person's life up until that point. They threw it all out because you said the word pissed on a Sunday morning.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. Like,
right. And this is the person that was singing our praises maybe months prior.
Yeah.
Attended meetings, attended trainings. You remember? Like,
yeah.
They loved the church. In fact,
to the point that when she said it to me, I chuckled because I thought she was joking.
Right.
And then I realized really, oh no, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right. And her husband loved the church.
Uh-huh.
And she decided to leave based off that one word.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's this dance that we have to have. It's just like they don't want perfection, right? Because they're used to like the priest or the pastor up on that pedestal, and they don't want that, right?
Yeah.
But they also, some of them, like, they don't want a peer either.
Yeah.
They want a leader. So there's this dance. I need to be close enough to relate, but yet far ahead enough in my life, far ahead enough in my example, far ahead enough in my growth and development that it motivates them to grow.
Yeah.
And it's hard because some people, they don't want a leader, they want a friend.
Yes.
And I can't be that, friend with quotes, right? I think I'm friendly with everyone. I think pastors should have friends. It should be friends. But there's this like level of proximity that when you get so close, then it makes them uncomfortable. But if you get too far away ahead of them, then you're unapproachable. And, I don't feel like following
I think
you.
they want that friend in quotes because they want you to coddle them and make them feel good about where they are in their life, but they don't want you to push them.
Right.
They don't want you to press them to grow or do better. And that's where we've seen that dance occur as well.
Yep. Or, or they want you to be this perfect person with devoid of flaws.
Yeah.
And more religious, I would say older people want that, right?
Yeah.
That I come in floating, with a big old Bible in my hand and, in a religious garb and those kind of things. And
why are you wearing a hoodie when you're preaching?
Right. I'm not going to do that because I unfortunately have to live in this level and this tension of I need to be close enough to relate. I need to be relatable, approachable, and not to get preachy, but like I believe that that's how Jesus was. He was Jesus. We make it out to be that this dude is like,
blonde haired, blue eyed, flowing locks.
Yeah, flowing locks. But if most people listening know the story of Jesus and Judas, where Judas betrayed Jesus, right? Um, Jesus looked so much like his disciples that Judas had to literally point him out to the soldiers in order for them to capture Jesus,
Mm.
right? That's powerful.
Yeah.
That he was so relatable.
Yeah.
But of course, he was Jesus. He was still the leader of that crew.
Yeah.
But there was something about him that was so approachable, that looked just like us, that he had to be pointed out by the people that were going after them.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
close enough to relate, but yet far ahead enough to motivate.
With this, I try to say to people all the time, like, hey, I'm just going to let you know right now, like, I'm human.
Yes.
I'm going to disappoint you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so this picture of that perfection that you've placed on me is really unfair. Like, I'm a human. I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I just want to let you know now, so you're not shocked when I show my humanity later.
Yes.
Or in 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So what's another thing you learned in ministry?
Oh, hold on. Let's pull it up. People are not against you. They are just for themselves. Whew. So this dude, early in knowing him, taught me this phrase. His name is Mike Rosato. He's sitting right across from me. He said this to me.
Who's Mike?
Mike Rosato.
You call me Miguel.
My husband. Said this to me years ago, and just something that really stuck with me because being in the line of work that we're in, I didn't expect it to hit as hard as it does sometimes. And like, I mean, I feel like we're kind of piggybacking everything we've just been talking about, but like someone that you think that you've invested in, you think you're close to, and you think they're like your right hand at times and all this stuff. And then one day they're just like, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with you guys. 99%, let me correct that. 99.9% of the time, they tell you, they say nothing to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there like, whoa, like this is someone that like I thought was a friend.
Mm-hmm.
This is someone that I've invested a lot of time into. And they don't even have the awareness to say, hey, Jill, this is what happened. Da, da, da. They say nothing to me. And it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts a lot. And I don't want to jump into my third point. I'll go back to this when I hit my third point. But I'm like, what did I do? Like, is it me? Da, da, da. And I have to, after having those awareness moments with other people of like, hey, do you see a blind spot here? Da, da, da. I have to remind myself, if I haven't done anything, people are for themselves. They're not against you. Because you could walk around life every day being like, they're against me. They're against me. They want me to fail. They this, da, da, da. Like, they're already making a decision. It's probably a hard decision to come by. They're not thinking about me. They're thinking about themselves.
Right.
So I can't take it so personally when they don't talk to me about it, when they just go to you, because a lot of times when you're making a hard decision, it's hard to share that. So they're coming to you with something that they have to share, that they've been hopefully spending a lot of time processing. It's not a rash decision. And they're telling you that they're not thinking about me. They're thinking about themselves.
Right.
So people are for themselves. They're not against you.
Right.
And I've used that in so many facets of my life. Because, and I feel like when you don't have that awareness, you can very easily make yourself a victim of every situation. So they're against me and they don't want me to have this. No, sometimes it's just not about you.
Right.
They're not thinking about you. And that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It does hurt, but it ain't about you, boo-boo.
Right. And if you don't live by that phrase, what it does is it inflates your insecurities all the time.
Yeah.
And every time, listen, turnover is inevitable.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, when I was in the mortgage industry, up until not my last, the job before my last job, like everyone in the mortgage industry bounced every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You got a new signing bonus on a new company. They were paying you more. You're like, I'm going with the money. You know what I mean? Turnover was 2 years. And I feel like that is also indicative of the workforce as a whole. It's very common for millennials and people to go every 2 years to a new job.
Yeah, 2 or
So
4 years.
regardless of it, if it's church, if it's work, whatever, like turnover is inevitable.
Right. I mean, but you can't take every time somebody turns over personally.
Yes.
Because if not, you're going to be constantly wounded.
Yeah.
So they're not against you. They're just for themselves.
Yeah, because when I was a single mom, it wasn't against the company. Oh, maybe there was like one that I was like, not. I need to get the hell out of here. But it was more. I was a single mom. I needed to make more money. They were throwing me more money. I had to take it. You know.
Right.
So
yeah, I live by that, and it helps me. And again, good leaders are good listeners. I ask myself, what are the things I need to own about this when they do leave, and they Jerry Maguire it. Who's coming with me? You know what I mean? And they're taking the goldfish and trying to take other employees with them.
Yeah, because to go back to that, hey, I just got this job at this new mortgage company. They're paying this, and people are like, "Yup, I'm coming."
Try to tell people you don't have to hate someone to break up with them.
Yes,
you don't.
Yeah,
and a lot of times they try to kick things over on the way out. It's not necessary. Just say, hey, it's time to go.
Yeah,
and I'll do my job to not take it personally, and just know that you're doing you.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, we as leaders need to still oversee the health of our organization and continue to drive it forward. And the organization is not healthy if I'm constantly living wounded and insecure. So they're not. It's not against you. They're just for themselves.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a pause there, pick it up at the next episode.
Yeah, we got 3 more. But we're going to do that in a part 2 because we also want to honor your time. I know not everyone has the 3-hour morning routine that I have to listen to podcasts.
We're not Joe Rogan.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But we will come back next Wednesday with part 2 of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So, check us out. We are here on video on YouTube. You
What
can
up?
see us. You can see all the air quotes I've put into this episode. But you can also check us out on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Check us out on Instagram at Jillian Rosado, at Mike Rosado. Have you been posting your reels on TikTok? I haven't posted on TikTok in
Sometimes
a minute. I got to do that today. I'll put it on
so
TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok at Jillian_Rosado, at Mike Rosado.
Yep.
And we will be back next Wednesday. Too real.
Peace.
Bye.